Well, I don't even know where to start.
Hey guys. Hey guys! Yeah, we didn't catch the last video. There's a lot of changes coming to the channel, and we mentioned that Stephanie mentioned that she has been dealing with a chronic illness for a few years now. So today's video is going to be explaining that. So you guys are up to speed, and Steph kind of gets to share it and get it off her chest and kind of, you know, go through this of explaining what has been going on, which has been, you know.
Well, it's a little bit of a struggle because Adam's been wanting me to share this probably since the day it started.
Yep.
And I didn't feel like putting my entire private life on YouTube or the fact that I've been struggling with this. And so it's become a big fight between us that he wants me to share it, and I felt like I didn't want to share it until I was completely cured. But now that we have become Steph and Adam, and we really want you guys to be able to see more of our personal lives, and we feel like if I share this, then it might help some people who are struggling with the same thing.
Right. So in the beginning, Stephanie's idea and concept about talking about the issue was, I have this thing, we're going to fix it, and then once it's fixed, we'll talk about it. And now it's been 2 years, and there's been better stages and worse stages. It's been up and downs, but it's still not totally gone. And I've been talking to Steph about explaining the journey. Like, at some points you need to explain everything, that nothing is perfect, we're not perfect, she isn't perfect, you guys don't expect her to be perfect. I think the concept of being YouTubers and making videos that everything seems perfect, and people expect creators to be perfect all the time, but we're not, and things happen, and Steph's, you know, taken a long time to come around, but she's finally ready to explain what's going on and what's been holding her back from, like, being her true self and doing what she really wants to do. So
first of all, this kind of ties into the whole reason why I became plant-based.
Right.
So this is also kind of my video about why I became plant-based.
Right.
See, the thing that Adam doesn't understand is that this is incredibly emotional for me, and it's been a very difficult 2 years. Probably, no, the hardest thing I've ever done and struggled with in my entire life. And he just really wants me to come out with you guys and tell you about it, so that way I can be on Instagram, because that's the reason why Adam's always on Instagram, because when I'm having my days, which one of them is today, I don't want to be on camera. Today would have never been a day that we would have filmed. I would have said, no, it has to wait until tomorrow, which is also part of the problem why we can only release one video a week. Because there are a lot of days when I can't film.
Yeah, and so part of my thing with this is that I need Steph to come out about it, because if you guys know about it, then there's no worry. So she obviously is, I understand that it's an emotional thing, it's a personal thing, I don't have it, I don't know what it's like for her to deal with it, but I do know that part of the stress is around having it and, you know, you guys seeing it and affecting you guys. So my fix, or my solution is, if you guys know what's happening, then you guys understand, rather than us not tell you and we just never produce videos anymore, or we limit the videos that get produced, or we limit Steph's interaction with you guys, which doesn't work either. So there's no real win. There's no real win. It's not a win-win scenario. It's just that it is what it is.
Just never wanted to be one of those YouTubers that cries on camera, trying to get the sympathy vote.
Hey, I did. I cried when you told me that you were pregnant.
Was not the same. We weren't making a video. Okay, let's see if I can pull my shit together. So this is mostly emotionally charged because my entire life I grew up with the most perfect skin you could possibly imagine. The amount of people that would say to me throughout my entire life that I have porcelain skin. My skin is so beautiful. How are you so lucky? This has just been always my like safety net, because growing up when you're overweight and you feel so uncomfortable about your body, at least I had my beautiful face, my perfect skin, and that was kind of like my consolation prize for the fact that I wasn't happy with my body, as you already heard in the last video that we made. So part of the problem why this is also emotionally charged is because this all started once I went to Australia. When I went to Australia in November 2015, which was just a few months before we rebranded and became Fit Couple Cooks, basically the second I stepped off the plane, I got really bad hay fever. Like, I spent the entire month constantly blowing my nose. My eyes were watering. I was itchy. I was just like, it was just really bad, and I wasn't like functioning normally because I constantly had tissues in my hands. And we had a great time though, and Australia is beautiful. It was my first experience with Australia, and it was a lovely month. And then he came home with me for Christmas time, and then we stayed in America for a couple of months before I wrote it all down, because honestly this story is so overwhelming because so many things have happened in the last 2 years that I had to write a list of how this all went down. Then we went to London in February 2016 for his cousin's wedding, and I got the flu about 2 days before we flew home. I've never had the flu in my entire life. Pretty much my entire life I've also been a very healthy person. I was not sick very often, other than weight gain. That's not what I'm talking about. I just mean like my immune system was functioning at a high level. So I came home with the flu from London. It was really cold in London. It was constantly raining. And we were just go, go, go for like the 2 weeks that we were there. And I came home with the flu, and I was like dead to the world for a week. And it was not long after that one night I woke up and I was so itchy, and I was like, oh, this is weird. So I went into the bathroom, got I think I used my moisturizer first. I used my moisturizer and it made me itchier. And I was like, why am I still itchy? So then I used coconut oil, and forget it. That like made me so itchy, and I was like, something is wrong, because that shouldn't be. Like, I use coconut oil, I moisturize. And so that was really strange. And then starting after that, I was getting eczema patches on my left arm and my inner elbow. Went to the dermatologist, because now this is around the time, when did we rebrand? We rebranded in April. Went to the dermatologist. She was like, oh, it's just some eczema, put some steroid cream on it. And I would use a little bit of it, but I was kind of like freaked out about it, because steroids are not natural. If you read up about steroids, you might feel the same way. Then I started to put on weight, and that was really difficult, because up until we rebranded and all this stuff started to happen, I told you in the last video, I was a total gym junkie. I was finally happy with my body. I was like working out hardcore, and I got to this point of being really happy, and then I had to stop working out, because when I got hot or sweaty, I would get a new eczema patch. And so going to the gym turned into a non-existent thing. And around this time, I was a pescatarian. I had already given up all meat, just because I was starting to get really grossed out by red meat. That was just like an instinctual thing. It wasn't like I was watching documentaries or anything. I just really, and I used to eat meat like bleeding, like rarest of rare steak. And suddenly I started to like just eat around the edges of the hamburger, like the redness in the middle started to gross me out. So I had already given up red meat. And then chicken, and at this point I was a pescatarian. I noticed that my left eye started to get smaller in photos, which was not normal. Then I started to break out on my neck. So it wasn't just my arm now, and now it was on my neck. And then Adam left September 1st, he left, which was when we were making the funny videos of him on the screen behind me. And that was obviously a huge stressor because we were already engaged at this point, and we knew that I wouldn't see him again until November when I flew over there for the wedding. So big stress happening. Then,
and at that point, if you watch those videos, you would notice that's why Steph started wearing a scarf in all the videos.
There's basically all the videos around that time, and most of the videos I'm wearing a scarf because I would get red patches all over my neck. And then I was starting to try on wedding dresses in September when Adam wasn't here, and I was getting really frustrated because I could clearly see the red patches in my inner elbows. And the stress was getting too much for us, and we decided to fly him back in October. I couldn't wait to go to Australia in November, so he came back in October. Also because October is my birthday. And at that same time, right on my birthday, my dog Cosmo was dying, who you've seen in videos. So Cosmo had a really long, slow process of passing, and that was like obviously extra super stressful. He was 12 or 13. Then I went to Australia with Adam in November to get ready for the wedding. Now once I got back to Australia, the eczema patches started to get bigger. I'm freaking out now because the wedding is in a month. Went to a naturopath. I went to Adam's friend who tested my body for things, told me all the things I shouldn't eat right now, which interestingly enough was things I wasn't even eating, like meat, and even things I was eating, like legumes. And I had to cut so many things out of my diet. I went full gluten-free, which I had already basically been gluten-free anyway. But I was eating, at that point I was a vegetarian now, and I was eating a lot of eggs and cheese. And she said, ditch the eggs and cheese. They're really inflammatory. And basically only eat these foods. So I now turned into a whole food plant-based diet. And that's what started my whole food plant-based diet, and I never went back. This is now almost 2 years ago. So she loaded me up on tons of supplements. She found out I had a parasite. She gave me a powder that I had to drink in the morning, and eventually got rid of it. I tried everything for that month. I went to hypnotherapy, which is actually really cool. I thought it was going to be like a thing in front of your face that she was like waving around, but it was really cool. It's basically a personalized guided meditation. Because basically you sit there and they talk to you and find out, well, what's going on? What are you stressed about? Blah, blah, blah. And then she writes all these notes, and then you sit back in a really comfy chair, put headphones on, and she'll talk into the headphones with relaxing music, and it's basically a personal guided meditation. So they'll say things like, to help you release your stress, but because it's personalized, it's like, in your brain, specific to you. And then she was teaching me how to use the tapping method, which is a really cool method. You should definitely check it out. And actually the guy who created it lives not far from us here in Connecticut. So it was really funny that I found out about it in Australia. It's cool. So we got to 2 days before the wedding. My skin was getting worse. It was now on my neck, my arms. And at this point it wasn't horrible, but to me it was, oh my God, you're going to see this in all the pictures. I can't handle this. So I caved and went for the steroid cream. Slathered the steroid cream all over me. I hadn't used it in months. And it went away, thank God, for the wedding. You can't see anything at all. The steroid cream made it go away. I used it for a few days after. I tried to follow the protocol because I know you're not supposed to just stop it right away. I had booked my flight for the beginning of February because we were told by the consulate that he would be able to get his paperwork within 30 days after our wedding. And so therefore we booked it. The wedding was December 30th, and I booked my flight February 5th, thinking, I give myself a little extra buffer. Maybe he'll be able to come home with me. That was completely wrong information that we were told by the consulate.
That's not how it works.
It's not how it works. So I literally left Adam thinking, see you in a couple days, and that turned into a couple months. So came home February. That was the most painful plane ride, most painful day, because at this point I didn't know what was going on. My skin broke out like a mofo, and it's always only on the top half of my body, and so wearing a shirt or like anything all around here is very irritated. I was like hiding. I was trying to hide because it was just like everywhere, and I was so embarrassed. Couldn't put anything on it. Didn't know how to take care of it. So I didn't go or do anything for 2 weeks. I sat in this house. I took 2 to 3 baths a day with Epsom salt, baking soda, tea tree oils, and I showered, which was super painful. Like, that was the worst it had ever been. And thank God it has never gotten back to that point again. But that was really stressful. I was eating basically the most minimal whole food plant-based diet you could possibly think of. It was basically fruits, vegetables, and like beans or something. Like, I was making a ton of curries. That's around the time Steph's curry was a thing, because that's what, like, all I was eating. And the other problem with taking baths and showers is that even though you can research and look for the most natural possible thing, and even something as simple as shea butter would irritate my skin. Coconut oil, forget it. Makes me so itchy. Like, even still, I can't use coconut oil. Not to eat, just to put on like a sore or an eczema patch is really bad. And so I didn't know what to wash my body with. It's always been a struggle of, how do I moisturize? How do I wash my body? What do I do? Oh yeah, I listened to hypnotherapy on YouTube every single night. And within 2 weeks, I completely cured myself. 100% cured. I was like, I can't believe this worked. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I cured myself without steroid creams, because if you Google eczema and steroid creams, you will find the scariest stories of people who literally look like burn victims, but from like head to toe. My top half looked pretty bad, but nothing is compared to what you'll see if you Google it, and people warning you, do not put steroids on your body because this is how bad it can get. So now Adam is still not allowed to come back to the USA. I go back to Australia April 27th. So this was, by the end of February, I was cured. February, March, and April 27th, I went back. I was completely fine. The second I stepped back into Australia, it came back. Eczema, hives, everything came back. I was trying to do the same tricks that I used here to heal myself. Didn't work. So then we found a store in Australia that sells everything made out of hemp. And the guy said, oh, you have to try this hemp cream. It cured my son of eczema, blah, blah, blah. And my intuition said, don't do it. And he kept saying, oh, I'll give it to you for free. I just really want to help you. And I was like, okay. So I used it. That made it 10 billion times worse. So then I came home June 9th without Adam again. I had to leave him there again because his papers still had not arrived. We were told they would be there in January. It is now June. So I get home figuring that, okay, well, if I'm not in Australia, maybe the same methods I used the first time would help. Nope. I did all the same things. Nothing was working. I did Sandra Cabot's detox, then Adam, and it kind of helped, but then not so much. Adam comes home July 16th. This is now a few days before our wedding, because our wedding is August 5th, our American wedding. We had 2 weddings for his family and my family. 2 weeks before the wedding, now, he gets back, which, just imagine the amount of stress without him having his papers, and we had already planned the wedding a year beforehand because we assumed he'd be back here in January because of information we were given by the U.S. consulate. So now it's a couple of days before the wedding. I have a full-blown meltdown on the stairs in this house with my whole family around me because I had a shower and it was just getting so bad again. And here I have my wedding dress is like this, and it's all around here and on my neck. My hair is going to be up, you know, like the amount of things that you have to think about and worry about that all of a sudden you have to think about and worry about that these thoughts have never crossed your mind before is like the most overwhelming thing. Like, how do you take a shower now? Like, things like that. How do I put clothes on now? So I had a full-blown meltdown on the stairs. It was like just a couple days before the wedding. I was bright red again. I finally decided, okay, it's 3 days before the wedding. Let me do the steroids again. The steroids didn't make it fully disappear this time by the day of the wedding. And you can see that in my wedding pictures, which is like having a scar. Like, you just, I always will look at my wedding pictures and try really hard not to see the red stuff on my neck and my arms. Then the list of things can go on and on of all the things I tried to do to heal myself naturally with. I was full plant-based, but I was so desperate, I tried making homemade chicken broth, bone broth. I was making my own bone broth for weeks, and I saw a little improvement, but it didn't really do much. I have completely cleansed my gut in like every possible way, because everyone says, oh, everything starts in the gut. I did a thing called Bowel Restore. I'll put all these links in the description box, because if you don't have it as severely, one of these things will probably help your problem instead of using steroids. He used Bowel Restore too and loved it. Like,
yeah, that was good. I'll use it again.
Cleansed our digestive system like so good, but not in like a gross way. It was like, it just felt really good. Mm-hmm. I was using oregano oil, direct oregano oil on my skin, which multiple websites said was a good idea. It burned like crazy, but I would see little improvements and I'd be like, oh, this is great. Then I was putting it in water. I was drinking oregano oil. I cannot tell you how much of a sting and like how strong that is. You wouldn't understand unless you actually tried it. And you smell like pizza for days, which drove my family crazy because I literally smelled like pizza. Mm-hmm. I tried fermented foods. I was eating kimchi out of the bottle. I did 12 days of juice fasting, like straight up just making homemade juices every day.
At this point, we were getting desperate, and by accident, we stumbled across a documentary called Fat, Sick, Nearly Dead by, turns out, an Australian bloke, Joe the Juicer. And we watched that video. We didn't know what it was about, other than it was a juice documentary. We're like, oh, sure, we'll watch it. And Joe talked about how he had what's called chronic urticaria, so chronic hives, chronic eczema.
And I also have hives.
And Joe the Juicer, if you know Joe the Juicer, he did a 60-day juice fast, made a documentary about it, Fat, Sick, Nearly Dead, and, you know, he just juiced. All he did was...
He said that juicing cured his...
All he did was juice.
Urticaria.
So we actually tried to reach out to Joe, and Stephanie actually had a conversation, a Skype with Joe, to talk about it, because...
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, we're very thankful for Joe for taking the time to do that, because he was, you know, concerned. Steph would explain the situation, and he was asking particular questions that maybe, you know, could spark something that we could figure out a trigger to why, because still to this day, we can't figure out the trigger. It's basically everything's a trigger. Like dust is a trigger, pollen's a trigger, put on a shirt you haven't worn for 6 weeks, that's a trigger. Different water's a trigger, everything's a trigger. A different food's a trigger.
Houses. A
different house, coming to someone else's house, trigger. Everything's a trigger. Like even driving in a car, trigger.
I basically need to be in a balloon.
Right, she needs to be locked up in a glass box. Like that's the basically anything that you can do. So then Steph started juicing. Took Joe's advice and started juicing. Juice fasting.
And I juiced for 12 days straight, and honestly, like, I felt amazing regardless of my skin. My skin did start to look better, but I like internally felt amazing. Highly recommend doing a juice fast if you do it with like lots of fruits and vegetables, not just like water.
Yeah, I'm sure in the future we may do one and explain how that all works.
So juice fasting was great. I did it for 12 days and I wasn't hungry after like day 1.5. Your body just adjusts and you're just constantly drinking juice. Like you just drink when you're hungry, and it felt great. So I did that. I buy aloe leaves and literally like cut up aloe leaves and rub them all over my skin, which I brought along with me on the tour, and I was doing that every morning of the tour. I tried acupuncture, which was the dumbest thing ever, because even though everyone said that was a good idea, I'm terrified of needles. So actually the stress of trying to do acupuncture made it 10 times worse. I tried drinking food-grade hydrogen peroxide because there is a book called The Minute Cure and talks about drinking food-grade hydrogen peroxide. That turned into, I did it for a couple days. It gets so severe that I threw up once, and I was like, that's it, done with that one. Then I met up with a friend, and she said to me, have you ever heard of medical medium? And I said, no, who's that? I researched him, and I was like, oh my god, it's like he's talking to me. And it said something about that he doesn't see people anymore, but that he has practitioners that are like he has cleared them, that they know what they're talking about and they practice what he preaches basically. So I Googled how to get an appointment with the medical medium. And the first thing that comes up is a name that I know. And I was like, oh, that's funny. That's my friend's mom's name. And like not thinking that it's her. I click on it and it says my hometown. And I'm like, so-and-so's mom is one of the 10 practitioners for medical medium? Like, how do I not know this? So literally like mind blown. How crazy is that, right? So I called my friend. She called her mom. We got on the phone right away. She was super helpful, and I'm so grateful to her. And she recommended me do all these different things, like tons of different supplements. I think about like $500 worth of supplements that day on Amazon. And she gave me a regimen that I have to do every day, which is this is a medical medium thing. You drink 16 ounces of celery juice every morning, which I'm telling you, that is probably the number one thing that I've seen make a big improvement over every other single thing that I've tried. 16 ounces of celery juice in the morning is like a miracle. That I make smoothies that are detox smoothies with like barley grass, wheat juice powder, and spirulina, and like food that I would have never eaten before I had learned about medical medium.
Wild blueberries.
Yeah,
dulse
wild
powder.
blueberries, dulse, which honestly tastes gross.
So much fruit.
Like, the amount of gross things I've eaten over the last 2 years to try and like fix this is ridiculous. But yeah, and then eating again a super whole food plant-based diet, which I already was, but I cut out things like oats, pastas. Well, I was eating like brown rice pastas, but I was told not to eat rice anymore. So I made a huge shift in my diet, and it really helped a lot. And so there are always these things, like it gets better, and I'm like, oh, thank God, I'm finally cured. And then 2 weeks later, I'll walk into someone's house, and I will get set off again. And I know when I'm set off because I'll just start sneezing. And it kind of ties into that hay fever thing from Australia, where I'll start sneezing. As soon as I sneeze, my nose starts running, and then within a day and a half, I'll be bright red again. Mm-hmm. Which is like, I feel like I'm constantly walking on a tightrope. I'm walking on eggshells because I never know what's going to set me off. So going on tour was terrifying. Mm-hmm. We were constantly in different hotels. We were constantly in different areas. I didn't know how my body was going to react to different things, but because I had really worked hard using the medical medium protocol, and I got really good before tour for like a good couple of weeks. We went on tour, and I was pretty good. Like there were not a lot of days I needed to use scarves until we got to Sacramento. Mm-hmm. And we went to a vegan gluten-free bakery that served sandwiches, and there was a sign there that said this is a vegan sandwich, or it wasn't a vegan sandwich, but you could make it a vegan sandwich. And I said to her, like, okay, that mayo on there is vegan, right? And she was like, yes, like frustrated that I was asking and confirming, and I was like, I just have a lot of allergies. And we don't know if it was her or the person in the kitchen that then gave me the bread that had egg in it instead of vegan bread. And so within I literally had 2 bites left of my sandwich, and Adam was like, oh my God, your face is blowing up. All over my mouth, all over my face, my neck just started getting so red. He went in there, he wanted to get the chick fired, and I was like, okay, it was a mistake, I'm not gonna die, but yeah, that was really bad. So it's like, again, walking on eggshells, we just never know what's gonna set me off, which is why we don't go out to eat anywhere. We just bring our own food.
Make our own food.
Bring our meal prep everywhere. So that was the tour. Then I came home, and I've been back and forth. Like I'll have days where I'm really good, and then days where I'm not. Like we just filmed the Fit Couple Cooks video a couple days ago, and my skin was totally fine. Now today I'm the worst ever. Granted, yesterday was stressful. We've noticed that stress is a huge factor, but it's not just stress. It's like dust and anything. So moving out of our apartment, which we did 3 weeks ago, totally set me off, because basically anytime, not just moving out, but anytime I would walk into my closet and pull something off of the closet, off of the shelf to put it on, if it hasn't been washed in a week, or I haven't worn it in a week, I washed it, left it in the closet, didn't touch it for over a week, I can't put it on my body, because as soon as I put it on my body, I will break out into hives everywhere. And I was a kid who never had allergies, had most perfect skin. I got to 28, went to Australia, and suddenly have to live in a bubble. So then when we moved out of our apartment, pulling all the clothes off the shelf, like we packed and I was just constantly had a tissue box to my face because my nose was just constantly running, and that set me off for, I don't know, a week and a half with my skin getting really bad again because all that brought everything out. So I am just really exhausted. It's exhausting trying to cure yourself naturally, holistically. He's exhausted. Everybody in my family is probably so sick of me saying, look, I'm good today, or look, I can't believe I look like this today. Yeah. And the worst part is right now that, you know, I always try not to stress myself out, but there's always stressful things going on in our life between visas and flying places and living in 2 separate countries and moving out of apartments and fit couple cooks, and you know, there's just always going to be stressful things. But now I figured out that my grandparents' house is one of my triggers. So they're also very elderly. They don't travel. They live an hour and a half away. So even though I used to go see them every Sunday, I can now no longer go see them on Sundays because their house is a big trigger for me. And it usually, last time it took me about 5 weeks to officially heal from being set off at their house. So they're elderly. The fact that I can't see them right now is a huge stress. Yeah, what else? It's just, my life is just not normal. I can't put on sunscreen, so I can't go to the beach. I can't go in pools because of the chemicals in pools. I just want to feel normal again. Like, you don't know what you have until it's gone, right? So I had no idea how lucky and grateful I should have been to not have to deal with allergies and feeling like I have to live in a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's basically stops us, or Steph, from being more on the channel, doing more, creating content. So like in the morning when you wake up, the last thing Stephanie wants to do is play Instagram story and chat to you guys because her face is the same color as her shirt. And, you know.
Or sometimes it's not even that, it's just bright red. It's also red and really flaky. And going from having porcelain Barbie doll skin to having flakes all over your face is a really emotional time. It's really hard to like fully accept yourself when you are struggling so hard and you feel like you have tried everything. And you know, this has been a huge, difficult change for me, and maybe now that I feel like you all know, maybe I'll feel better about talking about it on Instagram. But we'll see.
I think Steph, in a way, feels like she's letting you guys down because we want to be an example of health, and there's something that's stopping us from being pure examples of health because Steph's skin is irritated from everything. And so even though we're living a plant-based diet, that alone right now isn't able to 100% cure it. And so Steph feels like it's even hard to say, well, we follow a plant-based diet because people might think, well, it was the plant-based diet that did it, but she was already vegetarian for years beforehand. And, you know, we want to, you know, inspire you and help you guys to achieve your goals. But then Steph feels like, well, my skin sucks. Well, I'm a bad role model now because my skin's bad. Like, no one's going to listen to me because my skin's bad. And that all just plays into everything. And then the other thing that plays into it is that me, when I was a chef, I left chefing because I got heat and stress-related hives. My dad actually thought I had meningococcal. I took my chef jacket off and I had my skin was the color of Steph's shirt, and I had full body hives. And at that time, meningococcal was a disease that was going around Australia that could kill you really fast. And so they rushed me to the ER. Turns out I didn't have meningococcal. I just started to develop a stress rash from the stress of being in the kitchen, and I had all the allergy tests done, and I ended up having to sit in a chair in an air-conditioned room, isolated room for 4 days. I couldn't shower, I wasn't allowed to sweat, I wasn't allowed to do anything, I wasn't allowed to perspire, I wasn't allowed to go anywhere, do anything. My diet, I'm actually allergic to like a ton of things as well, which my body has slowly adapted to, but the last couple of days you can't really tell. I might zoom up in a second and show you my hand, but my hand's getting a little bit bad. But anyway, the moral of that story is that we were able to fix it, and I didn't have terrible skin because growing up I had dermatitis and eczema on my hands to the point of if I closed my hands and opened them, my hands would be covered in blood of how bad my skin was. I don't know if you guys can tell, but right now this hand here is I don't know if it focuses. This hand here is really nice, soft. This hand here is red and dry and like looks horrible. I don't know if you guys can tell. But anyway, so the point is that I have a skin condition growing up and I know what it's like. And then I was able to fix it, like however that was. Like I took steroids for a long time, and then I literally quit chefing for that reason. I quit chefing because chefing was so stressful that I went and got a job behind the bar in a pub because I wanted to be in air conditioning all day and not have the stress of the chef life. And that basically cured it. My not being stressed all the time and eating well. Plus, I was still doing the steroids and stuff, but there's always that thing where I'm like, well, mine got fixed, but I don't know how to fix yours, and that's always a struggle between us. Is that like, she's trying everything, and like it's still there, and that's something that's we deal with personally. Is that like, I can't help her in the way that I help myself. Or maybe it was a fluke that I helped myself, and Steph's done everything possible, and like the only thing left to do is to put her in a bubble, and she can't leave.
Mostly frustrating that this only seems to get brought on when I go to Australia, which is kind of a problem. And I was able to cure it the first time, and now this time it's like, nah, I'm not going away. Which I have full faith that I will heal eventually. Like I am always saying that it's going to happen. That is, I've not ever gotten to the point of I'm going to be like this for the rest of my life. I am so determined. I used to stand in our shower. We had a glass door in our apartment, and I used to stand there and I used to write affirmations on them. I am healing. My skin is white. My skin is glowing like in the fog. Like I'm trying so hard to constantly be thinking good, positive thoughts. Even when I wash my body now, I'm still thinking, I am healing. My skin is white. My skin is beautiful. Like, I've seriously tried everything. And the thing that's actually, I find most ironic, is that because I was always, like I said earlier, overweight, my skin was my protective, what I felt good about myself. And I loved putting makeup on from, I don't know, a very early age. Because as I like to describe it, my face is like a white piece of paper, and then when you put color on it, it's like it pops. All of a sudden you can really see my eyes, you can see my cheekbones, blah, 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 right? So I've always enjoyed putting on makeup, and when I first started talking to Adam, of course, I was always have my makeup on during Skype sessions. And one morning he wanted to Skype really early my morning, and I was like, oh crap, like I'm not going to put on my makeup at 6:30 in the morning, whatever it was. And so I was like, all right, well, it's fine. If, this was only like 2 or 3 weeks into our relationship, or our Skyping. And so I like ran into the bathroom really fast, and I just put like a little bit of concealer under my eyes so I didn't look like a purple ghost. And I actually was in this room, and I put it on Skype, and he like looked at me right away, and he was like, wow, you look so beautiful. And I was like, really? And that was like, the first time that I started to take away as much makeup as I had been wearing. Like if you look at the Chef Steph videos, I'm wearing a lot more makeup in those videos than I do now. And like, so he helped me start to appreciate my skin and learn how to live without makeup so much. And I started to actually go out of the house without makeup on. Like I was really starting to appreciate my beauty and my natural beauty and my skin and blah, blah, blah. And then this happens. And it's like, now it's like...
Yeah, that's what it was in the start. That Steph was, I wouldn't say, it's a bit harsh to say she was hiding behind makeup, but I loved her without the makeup on. That's like the point. Like I didn't love her because she had makeup on. I love her because who she is. And I was saying, like, you don't have to put makeup on for me. Like, I love you just the way that you are. And that was, a lot for her to get her head around. That, this bloke from Australia loves me just the way I am. Like, okay.
That's weird.
Yeah, and she got better and she became more, el natural and didn't put the makeup on all the time and
then this happened.
But then it's also like a feeling of like what she is perceived to look like. So to everyone, she looks a certain way, and then it is disappointing and frustrating when your body is not like your skin looks bad. And again, it all ties in. It's all like a mental thing. I look bad. They're going to think I look bad. They're going to think I'm a bad example. I'm not good enough to be on this platform. I'm not good enough to help people. I haven't even killed myself yet. How can people expect me to kill them? Like, it's a whole thing.
All right.
And so that's what we.
Well, this also ties into, the amount of negative, nasty comments we have gotten towards us, but most of the time towards me. Why is this fit couple cooks? It's fat couple cooks. Or why is the chick so fat? Like, that just made it, amplified it 10 times worse, because when we started, I was super fit. But then when this happened, I remember going to the dance studio with Adam because we were choreographing our first dance, and it was a hot day in Australia. And after that day, I got an eczema patch under where my sports bra is on my back, because it was hot and I was sweating, and this sweat got trapped under the sports bra and turned into a giant eczema patch. And like that, I could not exercise. I was trying so hard to never sweat. So I literally could not exercise, which turned into naturally putting on weight when I had trained my body a certain way, and then I stopped completely, like cold turkey. The amount of times Adam used to have to pin my hands down so that I wasn't scratching myself or just anything, or like, if you are itchy from your waist up, you don't want your husband or boyfriend at the time anywhere near you. Like, and you're in Australia and you're sweating and there's no air conditioning on, and you're laying in bed and you're just like, oh my God. And you just kind of want to die. And that, obviously not like it's going to break us up, but that was really hard for us in the beginning when you're in a new relationship or you're engaged or you just got married or anything like that. Oh, you know what else I completely forgot about?
What?
My eyes.
Oh, the eye thing.
Like, the amount of weird things that have happened is just unbelievable. I get this weird thing with my eyes. It started 2 days after the wedding, December 2016. It started 2 days after the wedding, and I'm not sure if what set it off was the eyelash glue or just it was something that was part of my issues coming. And my eye got so not itchy but irritated, and my brother and I were like, oh my God, what is wrong with my eye? I was like putting cold water on it. I was trying to like get it to fix itself. I was putting drops in. My entire eye got as red as my shirt, and I was like, oh my God, someone's gonna have to take me to the hospital. I'm gonna lose my eye. There's something severely wrong with my eye. After that, up until this day, it never got like that red again. But what will happen is my eye gets really irritated and I can feel it. There's like something in my eye, and I have to stick my fingers in my eye and like find it, and I will pull a string out of my eye that I can like go like this, and it's like a hard string, and the eye doctor says to me it's allergies, like that's just an allergic thing. And when you are constantly like rubbing your eyes because you have something, it's not like I'm rubbing them to be, like I can't keep my hands off of them. I'm rubbing them because I have to find the string and pull it out. It literally sounds like and feels like the most disgusting thing ever. Never had problems. That's why I switched to glasses. Did you notice? I've been in glasses now for a year and a half because I had to stop wearing my contacts. So I wore contacts from 7th grade up until 2 years ago. And that's so frustrating because I hate not being able to see. I hate that. I've always loved wearing contacts and not having something on my face. And so that's why I've now been wearing glasses. So that's another one of my weirdnesses that I've now had to learn how to cope with and deal with instead of just living a normal life. Mm-hmm. And I am so very aware that I should be grateful that this isn't like a serious I'm gonna die problem. I am so grateful it's not cancer. I'm so grateful that there are a million other things that it could possibly be. I know I'm not struggling with something that is a life or death situation, but I'm just sharing with you that this is what I've been struggling with for 2 years. This is why we don't make multiple videos. This is why I'm not on Instagram. This is just something that now you know. And if you are struggling with chronic urticaria or eczema, let me know. Send me a message. I would be happy to. Actually, I'll probably in the description box write down all of the different things that I tried. I will link them if they were a supplement, whatever it is. You can go check it out and try implementing them into your diet if that will, if you are struggling with eczema or urticaria.
Moving forward, Steph will be doing this. Obviously, you guys know now, so I think should be doing more stuff and feeling more confident in just knowing that you guys know. And you guys, I know you guys are going to support her just like you guys supported us with this whole new plant-based shift. We're only here to help you guys, and if we can't help people that don't want to be helped, and if people don't want to support us, that's fine. It doesn't worry us. I think we'll sign off, and you guys can leave comments below. And
only nice ones.
Just send Stephanie love. They're going to send us ones. I love you. I know you guys love Steph. I know you guys want to see Steph.
The ironic thing too is that the baby and I am like this pregnancy has been the easiest thing ever.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that I have like cleansed my body in so many different ways and everything is probably why I'm having such an easy pregnancy. So it's not that I'm unhealthy. My body is healthy, but there is something underlying wrong that is causing these allergies. So that's a testament to the fact that I actually am very healthy. Because the pregnancy is like, I feel like I'm not even pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's it. Now you know.
Now you know.
Jack's been here the whole time.
Jack hasn't eaten the whole time. He's been a good boy. He loves his mummy.
He just sits and chills.
Yeah, he loves his mummy.
Didn't even know he was here, did ya?
Jack's a good boy.
Okay, well, we'll catch you guys later. Thanks for listening, and...
If you missed the big announcement video, I'm sure it's on the screen right now.
Yes. Catch you later.
Namaste.